April 7, 1945, Tokyo Bay. Dawn broke across the Japanese home islands as a formation of 91 North American P-51D Mustangs from the 15th and 21st Fighter Groups approached their rendezvous point. In the cockpit of one of these Mustangs sat Major James B. Topp, gripping the control stick with steady hands. His aircraft carried 6.50 caliber M2 Browning machine guns loaded with armor-piercing incendiary rounds. Early production P-51Ds carried 500 rounds for each of the inboard guns and 270 rounds for each of the remaining four, for a total of 2,280 rounds of ammunition. Later production Mustangs reduced this to 1,880 rounds to improve gun feed reliability. Below the formation, Mount Fuji rose in breathtaking clarity, its snow-covered peak shining in the first light of the morning and serving as a prominent navigation landmark. This mission was unprecedented. To escort B-29 superfortresses deep into the Japanese homeland from Iwo Jima, a base more than 750 miles away. Only 2 years earlier, planners had considered such a mission impossible for single-engine fighters. But the P-51D Mustang was no ordinary fighter. Its reputation had been built in the skies over Europe, where it helped break the Luftwaffe and secure daylight bomber supremacy. The P-51 was originally designed for export to Britain, and its transformation into a world-class fighter began when British engineers paired the aircraft with the Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. This Anglo-American collaboration produced a fighter capable of combining aerodynamic refinement with high-altitude engine power.
The Packard-built Merlin V1650-7, equipped in the P-51D, produced up to 1,720 horsepower with emergency power settings and water injection. Its two-stage, two-speed supercharger allowed the Mustang to maintain high performance at altitudes where most Japanese engines struggled. The P-51D could reach speeds of 440 miles per hour at 25,000 feet, climb rapidly, and operate up to altitudes of 42,000 feet. Its firepower, 6 wing-mounted .5 caliber guns capable of delivering 4,800 rounds per minute, could tear apart enemy aircraft with just a short burst. This firepower, combined with the P-51's ability to escort bombers across vast distances, had already reshaped the war in Europe. Now it would do the same in the Pacific. In contrast stood Japan's newest and most advanced fighter, the Nakajima Ki-84 Hayate, known to the Allies as Frank. The Ki-84 could be a formidable opponent. It was fast, maneuverable, and on paper capable of matching or surpassing the P-51 in some flight conditions. It carried heavy armament, 2 20mm cannons and 2 30mm cannons in some configurations. But while the design was sound, Japan's wartime industrial situation was collapsing. Quality control had deteriorated so badly that performance varied drastically between individual aircraft. Engines suffered from unreliable fuel supplies and poor machining tolerances. Landing gear components failed frequently due to inadequate steel processing. Many Hayates never reached the front lines, and of those that did, a significant portion were grounded for lack of spare parts or maintenance capability.
Fuel quality was an even greater crisis. While American aircraft ran on high-grade 100-octane gasoline, Japanese units were often forced to use fuel rated as low as 80 octane. Engines designed for high power settings suffered from detonation, overheating, and catastrophic failures. Japanese mechanics attempted improvised remedies, substituting pine root oil, alcohol-distilled mixtures, and other supplements, none of which provided reliable engine performance. The K-84's engines could produce around 2,000 horsepower in theory. In reality, pilots rarely dared to use full throttle. The disparity in pilot training was even more decisive. American pilots typically deployed with 400 to 600 hours of flight time and over 100 hours in the Mustang itself. They trained extensively in formation flying, instrument navigation, and deflection shooting. Japanese pilots in 1945 often arrived at their squadrons with fewer than 100 hours of total flight time, sometimes less than 50, due to fuel shortages and the death of veteran instructors. Experience had been lost forever in the skies over New Guinea, the Solomons, the Philippines, and during the Marianas Turkey shoot of June 1944. On this April morning, radar controllers in Japan scrambled more than 100 interceptors, including K-84s, K-43s, K-44s, K-61s, A-6M0s, and N-1K2J Shudenkai Navy fighters. As they climbed through the pale haze over Tokyo Bay, they expected to meet B-29 bombers, but instead saw silver-winged fighters. The sight stunned them. Japanese intelligence and military leadership had assured their pilots that no American fighter could possibly reach Tokyo from Iwo Jima. One K-84 pilot later recalled, "When I saw the Mustangs, I knew the war was lost." As the P-51s dropped their long-range 110-gallon wing tanks and moved to engage, their tactics emphasized speed, altitude, and disciplined teamwork. They dived through Japanese formations with a 100-mile-per-hour advantage, fired precise bursts, and climbed back to high altitude before Japanese fighters could react. The K-84 could maneuver well at medium altitudes, but above 20,000 feet, its performance collapsed. Meanwhile, the P-51 retained power and control authority even in steep dives approaching 500 miles per hour. Japanese fighters often experienced control stiffening or even structural failure at such speeds. Major Tapp's combat report described how Japanese formations frequently broke apart after the first pass. Many pilots hesitated to follow their leaders into high-speed, high-altitude engagements, either due to inexperience or because their aircraft simply could not keep up. What followed was not a contest of equals, but the systematic dismantling of an air defense system that had been fatally weakened long before the Mustangs appeared over Tokyo. By the time the Mustangs returned to Iwo Jima, they had shot down 26 Japanese aircraft with minimal losses to themselves. In the weeks that followed, kill ratios of 20-to-1 and even 30-to-1 became common. The dominant factor was not simply technology, though the P-51 was technologically superior. It was the entire American logistical and industrial system supporting those fighters. Tankers, transports, aviation fuel shipments, repair facilities, parts depots, and pilot training schools. Each P-51 mission consumed tens of thousands of gallons of fuel and hundreds of thousands of rounds of ammunition. All of it arrived on schedule, produced in factories operating continuously, shipped across the Pacific on tankers and Liberty ships, produced faster than Japan could sink them. Japan, once on the offensive, now faced an overwhelming demonstration of what happens when strategy meets industrial capacity. The P-51D Mustang over Tokyo was not simply an aircraft. It was the airborne expression of a nation mobilized for total war, combining aerodynamic engineering, engine technology,